What are we working on, Blue Jay Pauper?
We're working on an album of music.
What?
We're working on an album of music by Walker and Wylde to release because that's the sort of thing I think bands are meant to do. This one time a while ago, we conned a bunch of people. We were like, hey, guess what? We can totally make a movie. Secretly, we couldn't make a movie. We did release a thing that we called a movie, and everyone was like, yeah, that's a movie.
Wait, did we already do that by the time this is coming out?
We might have.
It might not have, though.
Are we releasing the album before the movie?
I think so, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, album will be out in the fall,
I
and
think so. Album in the fall? Shoot.
album in like September, October.
We gotta get on that. We gotta start writing.
We're
Super excited. You know, lots of jazzy, folky, rocky, hippie hits about how life is meaningless. Let's see, what else do we got in the pipeline? We got we got Isaac. We got Isaac Wylde, G.E. and Isaac Wylde, which is always an exciting fact for me.
welcome to mini doco number 3, super close up of Blue Jay Pauper's face.
Here we are in sunny California. Just kidding, we couldn't get the rights to that, so here's Toronto. It's like sunny California, but not at all. And there's a whole bunch of caterpillars that want to eat every single part of your body.
This park is honestly pretty great, except for the infestation of caterpillars
Yep.
that are literally destroying the trees. This is now a nature documentary. As you can see, these caterpillars are an invasive species.
Walker and Wylde.
Life is meaningless. Or did you eat the trash that you were sold? I tried to get more, ended up with less. Just 2 hands full of pyrite that I used to think was gold.
When we started thinking about the fact that we were musicians, we went, maybe we should write an album. Because when you take music and you record it at a longer period of time, you can sell it for more. Now that hasn't worked out.
You know, we started writing this album on the West Coast, but then as we got further east, we realized we were more depressed than we were at the beginning of the trip. Specifically, we got to Toronto. We were the most depressed we'd ever been. I've been living this life for a while now in this van. No, I don't want you to. This is us. This is me and the boy. What's up, homie?
I'm also a camera person.
There you go. Whip pan.
We've been stuck here for a month. I want to leave Toronto.
We always know when we've been somewhere too long because it's when the Karens start coming out of the woodwork and being like, so you're camping here? You're not
The
supposed
Karens get really frustrated.
to. Yeah. So this one Karen, she walked up, I'll be her, and this is my leash for my dog, my small like Shih Tzu Chihuahua, comes up and she's like, so you're camping here? No, we're not camping here. Well, I work at the park here. I'm not working right now. She's in clearly summer clothing, not at all a uniform. But, you know, if you're here at night, they'll catch you and like you can't be here. Like, what are you doing here? And we're like, using the park within the regulated allowances, enjoying the facilities. She's like, well.
What the hell, Toronto?
Well, it did promise us thunderstorms.
I just don't understand why Toronto is literally as humid and hot and awful as Southeast Asia is in the dead of the rainy season. And so we wrote the whole album there, pretty much. We wrote one song in Halifax, and that one was actually a pretty happy song.
The album's themes, I think to me, really are just about having a good time, despite the fact that the world is very clearly ending. So it's kind of this balance between, well, are we gonna enjoy our life? Or are we just gonna be horrified the whole time? And the answer is yes.
We were traveling across the country and enjoying our time traveling across the country, except there were certain points when we were more depressed than other points of the journey. And those times, we realized, why are we doing this? And so we just kept writing because we realized we had inherited a life that we didn't really want. We just wanted to be artists, and yet somehow it was nigh impossible. And then we go. Yeah, that's how we should do it. And then we go.
The band started very effectively and entirely on accident.
I called up my friend Blue Jay Walker and I said, moving into your van. And he said, absolutely, man. See you in 8 months. You don't have to, though. I said, I'll see you in 8 months.
One day, I got into a vehicle with my buddy Isaac that they had rented for the day.
And then one day my friend, he arrives in town and I pick him up from wherever he was from.
And I looked into the back and there was just all this stuff. Just stuff everywhere. Just mountains and piles of things.
And I had my van full of all my stuff. He said,
Isaac, what you up to today? And Isaac said,
I'm moving in today.
And then I said, that's a one-person van, Isaac. And Isaac said, it's a two-person van now. And I said, you're always welcome in Two-Tone Tony, you know that.
And there I was, moved in that day.
And they didn't leave. And they didn't even complain.
Been a hobo since. Until now, actually. I'm not a hobo anymore.
While we were there, it just so happened that Isaac also had a double bass. And in the end, we started the band because we like music and we like art and we want to share that with people also needed money.
I got an email while I was on the phone with my best friend, and that email said, congratulations, you are getting some money for your album. And I was like, wow. Con the government.
When we received a grant to make an album titled Secondhand Existential Crisis, I knew we had them in the palm of our hands. You gotta trick people into thinking that what you're gonna make is probably pretty good, and in fact trick yourself to the point where the thing actually is good by working very hard and diligently because you believe in the artwork and you believe that you can create something that is worth sharing and listening to and maybe even becoming a part of the fabric of someone's culture and history.
Can you believe it?
Can I believe what?
Walker and Wylde are coming out with a new album.
Oh, yeah, we coming out with a new album. That's exciting.
Can you believe it?
I mean, not really yet. We haven't recorded no album, so I can't even say, hey, go listen to the album, it's good. I ain't heard it.
Oh my god, but
It could be bad. Here, let me help you out there.
what are we doing?
What are we doing? We're living in an apartment so that we can record an album and also not freeze to death.
Working with Blue Jay is pretty fun. He's you can say opposed in certain ways.
Working with Isaac Wylde, I'd say, is like jazz, except Isaac won't admit that it's jazz because they only want to write 20th century modern pieces.
Where do we go from the 0 mile over the bend and away for a while? Never forget that francophone smile in the winter like summer when the poor felt rich.
It actually works very well because we balance each other out and we cancel each other out, and together we become this null and void form of gooey orbs of creativity.
This is the life of the curse, that it is. Hear it ringing down the street.
So I'm really intense and a perfectionist. My friend, on the other hand, has lots of chill, and he loves to create everything. So I'm a tyrant.
I had to work under a tyrant during the recording process. There's this member of the band, Isaac Wylde, a perfectionist. It's tough for me because, oh buddy, I am not perfect.
The recording process started for me actually a few weeks before we started the recording. I was doing hours of research per day at the time on how I could make my garbage, dingy apartment into a sick recording studio. I wanted it to sound like we were a 1970s band recording the best album that we could ever record.
What arrived? What arrived, Isaac?
This is the mic we've been waiting for. We literally ordered this 4.5 months ago. It's supposed to look like this really old mic called the U87 because it's an identical copy. It sounds identical, you can't actually hear the difference. The only difference is that when somebody walks into your studio, if you pull out a U87, they go, damn, you wealthy. Because it's 3,000. So for me, the recording process was like a 4-week thing where I had to prepare everything so that the 2 weeks that we were recording, the week and a half that we were recording, would actually be incredibly successful and we wouldn't have to go back and record a bunch of things again.
I really enjoyed the recording process because it's something that I'm not very familiar with. So I'm very glad that Isaac was there to be a perfectionist. If it was just me, we wouldn't be where we are today, that's for sure.
When I was but a twig, so I take only what I need, and I need nothing big except for the keys to everything, the answers of our life. Put that in my backpack beside my Bowie knife. Oh hey. this way. I'll keep searching all my long and weary days. Oh hey, is paradise this way? I'll keep searching till I find it one day. I've been looking here and there, but here.
It was fun, it was chill. Jay did a great job. The performance was excellent. It was his best performance of all time. And it was easy to see that from my position, because I was sitting in a chair saying, "Do it again, son."
So anytime that I would do a thing, Isaac would turn around and they'd just go, "Again!" And I'd go, "All right." And I'd sing the same thing again. And Isaac would go, "Again!" Minimum 3 times, usually more.
So I would be like bossing him around and telling him, "Listen, so you're singing through your nose, and that's a little weird." So I would tell him everything he was doing wrong pretty consistently.
Eventually, Isaac would be like, "You're singing bad. Have you considered singing better?" And I hadn't thought of that. Let me try one more time here to sing more gooder.
And it would be hard, and he was working his butt off.
And then I'd do it twice more, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that was the ones."
But it was his best performance that I've ever seen, and it shows on the album. The recording was fun and exciting, and it was a fresh take on a genre that is timeless and old. The bards are the ones who started folk music, and we are carrying that tradition forward. 2 idiots who lived in a van and wrote songs in Toronto because we hated a place.
A friend just changed all my strings for me accidentally. Not a very good guitarist, and then he broke all the strings.
One at a time on the street?
One at a time on the street.
Wow, that's crazy.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Using a unrelated key in order to add a jazz tone to this song.
This is how the process goes every time. I write a lighthearted folk song, then I pass it over to Isaac, and Isaac turns around and looks at me and goes, "I see your lighthearted folk song, and I raise you jazz chords." And I'm like, that's what I wanted.
We've been passed down all of these things, this detritus of a world that's been lived in and used by humans for many, many generations at this point, and it's not something that we can hold on our own individually. And so we suddenly, growing up, are thrust into this place and told, fix it, or told nothing's wrong, or told all of these things that conflict with each other, and we're looking around and none of it adds up, and all of it adds towards a crisis.
It's a deconstruction of our society, of capitalism, of bad leadership, and of everything that we have been handed by the generation above us, particularly the wonderful people who are our parents. We have received from them a lot of problems with no solution and no power to solve. And so the album is kind of a diatribe on that subject, on the struggle of having all these problems and having no solution for them.
Oh, my feet caught the walking need when I was but a twig. I'll take only what I need, and I need nothing big. For the keys to everything, the answers of a time. Put that in my backpack beside my Bowie knife. Oh, hey.
I'm excited about the songs. We played through them all in a row for the first time, and that was good to hear. And we figured we need one more song, and so we've written like 13 songs, probably cut it down to 10. It doesn't matter how many songs you write, it matters which ones are good. And so
they're bad?
We're making
You guys wrote
no
bad songs.
no they're good songs, although we do write lots of bad songs. The point is it has to be cohesive and it has to tie together into the emotion and the story and the concepts that we're working with. And so we really feel like some of the songs that we wrote, even if we love them, didn't match. And so we've cut it down to really a tight concept, because that's what we want. We want things to be an actual satisfying, complete product. And that's what albums are for. And people often lose that when they just release single, even though it's effectively a better strategy in today's online market. But, we're going to make an album regardless.
Blue Jay Waka.
We kind of came upon this idea that we need to enjoy our life while we're young, and even when we're not young, despite all of this, but not in spite of it. That we would be aware of the problems in our world, be conscious of those things, and try to make steps that we can personally to make the world a better place, while also releasing the weight of the world. Because we're not Atlas. We're not going to be able to carry all that on our shoulders.
The worst part about every single recording session and mixing session is that you get to listen to the vocals over and over and over while you find the perfect match, the best take. But when you listen to vocals on their own, they sound horrible, especially when you're listening to your own vocals. So on this song, we're re-recording Here I Am to be more like how we actually play the song as opposed to the single version, because we had no idea what we were doing at that time. And here is a demonstration of how bad I sound sometimes. I don't know if you heard that. Let's listen to just my voice.
The process of writing the lyrics is a very self-explanatory system of bone dice.
If I come up with the subject, I say, here, Jay, you write the lyrics. And if Jay comes up with the subject, he says, here, Jay, write the lyrics.
If it's sixes, song's gonna be pretty good. If it's all ones, song's gonna be fantastic. Twos and fours, middling song. And a three, you don't write that song.
And then after Jay writes the lyrics, I look at them and I say, I really hate these. My job in the band is to say when things are bad. It's a good role.
The cooperative work comes from me and Isaac. We work on every lyric together, and we really rip it to pieces until the bone dice mean nothing.
I've got it. Okay. Death is coming around the door and he's about to knock.
Nice.
Death is coming to the door and he's about to knock. Death is coming. Because time is ticking clock. Time is running out. Death is coming to the door and he's about to knock.
You know death is heat.
She's about to knock.
The incorporeal
The
concept.
incorporeal concept is all about to knock.
The incorporeal concept of death is about to knock. I like it. There we go. Time is running out. The incorporeal concept of death is about to knock.
And we will edit every single word to a fine point.
Then build it back up into a new song.
Because we believe that stories and lyrics matter.
Gather around now, people. Would you listen? Think back to a time when the world would glisten.
Don't love that word.
Glisten is
it's
a
not great.
classical.
It's not great.
If you can find a replacement, I'll take the replacement. Gather around now, people. Would you listen? Think back to a time when the world would glisten. It would glow. It was golden. Yeah, I don't think it has to explain the whole thing. Like it's not. This isn't a preachy song.
And at the end of the day, we've come up with something that maybe is a good song, and it definitely flows pretty good.
Now it's not too late. Take it back to a time when the world was great. Once it was gone, now it's looking so gritty. Oh, how'd we let them dirty our city disappoint your blood? Mine's been cooking, don't worry now. I know you've been looking for somebody with a rally cry. Well, baby, I'm your guy. I got everything, and I just need you to believe. Buy it and eat it up. I'll fix it all with a smile and a little bit of blood.
Listening to the album through for the first time was incredibly gratifying for me. Specifically because I am not the mixing engineer, and so I was able to just be a part of the writing and the recording process and then kind of pass it off to Isaac and allow them to work their wizardry.
It was so good listening to the done album, except that I was mad about almost everything on the album and went back and redid almost everything because I can hear every issue in the album that I am unhappy with.
It was very exciting for me to get to sit down, kind of going in blind to find out what has been created from those things we recorded.
I think this is my best work so far. I think this is my best music. I think this is the best recording I've done. And seeing Blue Jay be happy, because if we're not happy with our work, why would anyone else be happy with our work? We gotta make it as good as possible so that we can look at this and say this was phenomenal. And if we can't say that, no one else should ever say it. No one else will ever say it. If we can't listen to it and feel good and enjoy listening to our own music, no one else is gonna enjoy listening to our music. No one.
It's fantastic to hear it all come together, and I really feel like, having listened to it, we created a cohesive piece. Very exciting to hear it as a banger folk album.
I think this is just a small beginning for the greatness that we are going to be able to find.
I think the people who hear it will like it. 5 years down the road, when we've achieved more success, people will look back at the album and be like, they was slapping from day one. And then 10 years later, they'll be like, They were better when they started. They kind of fell off. I want people to say that this is the album that caused or cured their existential crisis.
I want people to actually like reflect on their actions from this album. I want people to consider the lyrics, consider the music, and actually look within themselves. A lot of it is satire as well. And I feel like satire is one of the best ways to cause people to reflect inwards and to cause real societal change. We have an audience which is smart, and we trust our audience's intelligence. And I think we're truly engaging with them in a way that is down to earth and real, but artistic at the same time.
In 20 years, I want them to say, oh yeah, I remember that, because that's astonishing.
I hope that people will say that this album was real and raw. Like, wow, I can't believe they came out of the gate swinging.
My goals for the band are to play as much and as often as possible, and to create such an astonishing amount of art to support it.
I want to con even more people out of their time and their money.
I'm so excited to keep making stuff and playing as much music as possible, and frankly, I don't really care if we never pick up, if there's never some big moment where we get massively successful. I just want to live for art, and I want to make art. And the fact that I get to do it now is astonishing, and the dream that I'll be able to continue it is amazing.
I want people to really enjoy us, and I want people to have a good time. And I think we're a good time. I want to write 4 or 5 more singles this year, another EP, and then prepare another album for next year, as well as go on a tour and have 1 million people by the end of the year. We're coming for your throne, AJJ. You watch yourself. We're coming. We're tiny. Nobody knows who we are. Let us do it.
To butcher the poet John Craigie, playing to an empty bar is still better than picking up garbage. So
Maybe I'll blink and I'll be free. Till then, I guess I'm moving on. Oh, we do it 4 times.